Hello, guys. Welcome to another live session on your Leansimcorp channel. And let me just update these details. Okay, great. So let us wait for another couple of minutes and let us see how many people are going to join. And then we will be starting our live session. So we'll start it at within 5 minutes. So here we are. So let us see how the things are going to go. So we are currently having none of the available person out in there. Okay. So let us see what happens. So here we are live for you, Arlene Simcorp channel. Okay, so let us see how many people. So we have how many people we are gonna get. Let's see. Okay. Okay, so things are going on good, and we will begin in another 5 minutes. So let us have the people joining up, and then we would be starting our Flexim live Q&A and multiple different stuffs. Okay, so we are more 3 minutes to go, and let us see how the things are going to go. Meanwhile, people who are going to join, just put in their name or just a hi and their comments, questions. That would be great. Okay, so here are our basic stuffs coming in. Okay, sounds great. So we will start in another 3 minutes. So let's see. So all your questions are welcomed. So you can put the questions in the chat. So this is how it works, guys. Just have a look at the public we're gonna have joining us. So we are having how many like so we have one viewer as of, so two views in total. So let us have some viewers at least joining. us onto this live platform, and then we can just check it out and go ahead with our today's live session. Okay, so let us see how the things are going to go. So I've just shared this on the social media platform as of. Okay, great. So guys, so we are waiting for another couple of minutes and see how many people are going to join, and if that's gonna happen, we will see how the things are going to go getting up. Okay, so please put your questions down onto there, right? And we'll begin the momentum of the live soon. So just let me know. Okay, so what we are going to do is let us create some, what I can say, applications into the simulation environment. Okay, and these applications are supposed to be industry driven. Okay, so that it helps us have most of the things populated in the normal way. Okay, so basically when we talk about that, there are some of the important methods which we do practice, in discrete event simulation, in flexim simulation. If you have any different changes getting up, like there is a voice change, or something like that, or you're getting low voice, high voice, or something like that, please let me know in the chat section. Okay, so that would be really great. So what we are going to do, so let us understand many of the different things which are really important while doing any of the simulation model onto the system, right? So I hope that many of the people are already aware about connections. You do the connections in the simulation environment. That is pretty much simple, right? So when you go in this and say you want to create, so if I just reset and run this, you will see that by default you're going to get some of the objects out in there, right? And those are not going to have any values, any labels, nowhere, no data. Okay, now say for example what you need to do is you are supposed to label the items. Okay, so how you can do, so mostly the triggers are the most important parameters in the flexim simulation environment while you're working on your process simulation. Okay, so triggers you must know, these are very important. When to use triggers, what to use in trigger, and then when you use triggers, in that again there are some predefined opportunities or properties in the flexim which you can use, but there are most which you need to work on getting it modified. Okay, so when I talk about, so for example, whenever I get a part out from my source, what I need to do is I need to set color by case. Okay, and that is by item type. But if you see now, the item.type label, we haven't yet set it up. Okay, so on creation is another trigger which we are going to set up, and we are going to put the label to that, and that is we are going to create a different five types of options. We will go in that in detail, but let us look at how this looks. So if you see creating a objects, or you say creating flow items or boxes which are going to be created with five different types. Okay, so this is how things goes out there. So when you look in here, the label type is listed onto the part. Okay, and when you look into this is how the things go. So what happens is we have created a box on which we have labeled a type. Okay, and to that the color is applied, again that is applied by default from the palette value. Okay, so every color is going to have a value 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, and every number is going to have associated value of colors, and that is where you're going to get this out in there. If you want to give the color values very specific too, that is like for type 1 you need to use type, what I can say for example for type 1 you need to have red, type 2 you need to use green, then we need to use another method. We'll check that also. Let us first understand this. Okay, you see this is the fastest way. If you have nothing to do with the colors, like the customer, or you say the simulation logic which you need to create, there you do not have any information about colors, but you just need to have different types of parts, then you can just go ahead this way. On, you just need to go in this trigger, and the way we create it, you can create a type label, you can rename that as per your requirement, and you can put the D uniform stuff here, or whatever distribution you want to put, you can use that and have that. D uniform is the most widely used. So what is going to happen is the items are going to get created from 1 to 5. So minimum value is 1, maximum is 5. In this you are going to get this details out created. Okay, so this way the type, so the type label is going to get associated with the item. And what we have done is we have told that from 1 to 5, it is going to refer your color from palette. We have explained this in detail in our videos related to scripting. You can have a look at that. Okay, we have a question from Rahul. What he's asking about is, does this triggers works along with process flow? Okay, so these triggers are going to work independently. Okay, and the process flow thing is going to work independently. So the triggers, if you're talking about that, whether we have triggers in process flow, we have only one thing, that is this event triggered source, where you can have different types of triggers. So this is a source in which you can have different triggers in the process flow. And the other thing is you can use this, which is wait for event, and this also consists of the triggers you need to specify. So these are the two elements in the process flow where triggers are being used. If that is what you were asking, that can we use triggers in the process flow? And the other thing, if you are asking that whether the triggers which we use here, so for example this works when we alongside create a process flow to that, then yes, triggers are working onto the. So firstly in Flexsim there are two environments. One is conventional, which you script code connect in this model environment, and the another environment is the process flow environment, which is from here you're going to control your conventional or your model environment. Okay, so the triggers placed in this are going to work on their way. If you control the triggers from here, then only those are going to get controlled, or those are going to work independently, and the triggers in the process flow are going to work independently. Okay, so that is how it is. So going back to where we were, is that this is how we set it up. What? we set it up the item type. So I'll just make this faster so you can see the details. Okay, so the red color we are going to have it as type 1, the blue color we are going to have it as type 3, and green color we are going to have as type 2. So this is how you can specify different types of parts into your system, and furthermore you can add different stuffs. Now what I was talking about was that is it possible to give a specific color to the items the way you want, and if you want to make some different activities, like say you want to send those to different ports, right? Like you need to have it to be send it to the different ports, and then those are supposed to be picked up by the operators. Let's go there as well. Okay, so now we'll remove this color by case. Okay, and we'll also remove this as well. Okay, and now we'll create again a new labels to the item where we are supposed to provide the label and the color together. Okay, now this is one of the property we have where we set label and color, okay, which is been named, but will that work perfectly is what we're going to see. If you see this, I'll just run this faster. You see that? That is how it works. So this is also one type of property available in the label itself, with the help of which you are supposed to not make different types of triggers in the single trigger itself. You are supposed to be getting what? You're supposed to be getting in the single trigger, your both activities are done. If I just change this to 5, it will be our exact last thing which we did out there. Okay, so if you look at this, I'll just make that faster. So you should have 5 types of parts coming in, with the same logic being created. So this is how we created different types of objects now, okay, onto the system. Now from here, what I need to do is I need to send those to different types of queues, okay. And if you see that I'm going to have different types of queues out in there. Before that, what we'll understand is, say for example, I have a global table and I'm creating a global table out in there, okay, with say 5 rows and 1 column, okay. So let us see the global table been created, 5 rows and 1 column. This is my practice, you can have your own, okay. Now what I do is, probably I always have 2 columns. One, so this header, row headers in the column 1 is same for me. Column 2 is going to be my cycle times, okay. So let me put this type, okay. So first 1 type, 2 type, 3 type, 4th, type 4, type 5. I'll just copy paste it out here, and those are going to have different cycle times onto there, okay. So these the units for the model are in minutes, okay. So if you see, this is how the cycle times are going to be placed onto for different types of pattern. Now for example, if you want to fetch the value of the cycle time to that processor based on your global table which you have created, okay, how are you going to do? There are 2 different ways. One, you can assign the value of the cycle time to the item itself, and then you fetch that in the processor, or when an item comes to your processor, fetch that from the global table. Whichever thing you are going to do, it is going to be the same, okay. So let us directly put the process time, or modify the process time onto our processor and get the details out in there. There are 2 different things. Directly you can get this by global table lookup, okay. Here you can give a reference of your global table, you'll get it that item dot type is nothing but a row, and the column you are going to specify is 2, okay. So let me just reset and run and check whether that works, okay. And here comes our different types of parts. I'm making that faster. Okay. So here, if you see the cycle time is 10, here if you see the cycle time is 1. Why it was 1? Because I had a red color part that is type 1. So now if you see the stay time is getting varied, that means different types of cycle times are getting applied, okay, to our processor. The cycle time at this station is 10 minutes, and that is where you're going to get this differently applied. Now say for example, I'll just reset this. Now these are the cycle times for my station 1, and I have another column where I am going to have the another cycle time for my station 2. It's very simple. What you can directly do is go into the code, directly copy paste the code, go to the processor, go in the code editor, and directly control A, control V. Here you just change it to 3 because it's the third column for that particular station, and you're going to reset and you're going to run. Okay, and this is how you are going to get the details fetched from your global table, and you're going to get the cycle times applied to your part. Okay, now if you see here, the cycle times is applied at 0 because we have no entries in this column. So if I just make that entries here, okay, 3 5 some random values, you are going to get in the details out in there. Okay, so here it comes. So here we have already applied an exponential expression for the inner arrival time. You can change that to whatever you want. So I'll just make this as every 1 minute I'm supposed to get a part arriving at 0. Okay, so I'm just resetting this and running this, right? So here comes all the details out now. So the cycle times are now been fetched from the processors and details out there. Now let us see, I don't know how much cycle time is applied to my parts, right? But I know that has been applied to the stations, right? Like if you see the stay time here getting varied, but I don't know how much was the cycle time been applied to this and how much was the cycle time been applied to this, because I don't have any labels or I don't have any statistics stats out of there that how much time was applied as a cycle time at each stations, what was the value being fetched from the global table, right? So how we can do that? It's quite simple. There are two things. The best thing is you need to go into process flow. If you see here, the return value is nothing but the value of the data which is being queried, based on the row and column out in there. Okay, so if you see that the result value is supposed to be say 25371 depending on the type of the item and the station. What I want is I want that item should be getting a label named as CT1, which is nothing but the value of my cycle time. So what I wanted was I wanted a label onto an item which will tell me that what was the cycle time applied on my CT1 station, that is processor 1 station, for the particular item. Okay. Now what is that been going to be done as? Here you can just write the syntax that item.label CT1 is going to be getting a value of the results. So I just reset and run and let's see whether that's working. Okay. And now if you see, I have that label type 1 which we already created at the source. Now we have CT1 as the another label with the value of the cycle times been applied. So if you see, it's correctly getting the values of 1. Now let us see for this orange, what was the value applied. Okay, the value taken was 7, and that's perfectly fine because it's fifth type of item. So similarly, now what we have done is we have fetched in the details of the cycle time onto that item. Okay, we have get those out in there. Okay, and here it comes, what we get the details of the labels of the cycle times of each station. Now what we can do is I'll also tell you one of the, what I can say, the standardized stuff Okay, so this same thing you can just copy paste ahead onto your next processor, so that you have another label named as CT2, which is going to get the value of the cycle times of that next item out in there. Okay, so let me just reset this, and I'm running this out. Okay, so probably you're going to have a CT1 now, you're going to have a CT2 now. Okay, and you're going to have a CD. So there are different types of stuffs now coming onto the plate. Okay, let me reset this now. Okay, and let us come out here now. Now what is going to happen is, we learned about putting labels, fetching the values from the global table, again then putting the values of your particular, what I can say, cycle times. The value of cycle times now you are printing onto your item as a label. Okay, oh my goodness, thanks for putting this up. So you were not able to see the, what, you were not able to see the, you are not able to see the code editor into the system. Is that true? One second. So were you able to see the code editor? No pop-ups? Oh, so let me just adjust the settings out in there in the videos. I don't know whether the screens can be changed. Okay, okay, so I'm just adjusting the details. Let me just check that now. I hope now you will be able to see the data sets out in there. So can you just confirm me that whether you're now able to see the, uh, yeah, I hope you will be now able to see the code editor. I'll just open that. Okay, and let me see, let me check whether that's working now. Okay, so this is how the things are going to be. So I've just opened the code editor. Okay, yeah, yes, now you can see the code editor. Yeah, perfect. Okay, sounds good. So here comes the code editor now then. Okay, so this is how. Okay, so now let us go to that. Hello, so here we are. Oh, thanks for bringing that point up. Oh, great. Okay, so what I was talking about is, let's go here now. So what I was talking about is, putting this into the details out in there, okay, that this code you need to put in your process time. So I'll just close this again, go to the processor. Here in the process time, you need to open this code editor. And when you come out here, what you need to do is you need to type in here a new thing, that is item.ct1 equal to results. What is that going to do is, probably that is going to get us the value of the cycle time applied to the station as a label onto your item. Okay, so ct1, so that item is going to get the ct1 cycle times, and here we have done another label onto the same item of ct2, which is going to get us a value of cycle times applied onto our processor. Okay, ct2. Okay, so that is how it is going to be. So what we did now was we had a label onto the items to get the cycle times, and we have a label of the item of the type. Okay, now what has to be done is we are supposed to send the item to the different types of queues. Okay, and what we are supposed to do is we need that the operator should be taking those items in a quantity of two boxes together. Okay, and those are supposed to be placed onto the conveyor. Okay, now I'll just place a conveyor out in here. Okay, here comes the conveyor. Now what has to be done out in here is that the output from the processor 2 has to be segregated like 1 2 3 4 5. So type 1 goes here, 2 goes 3 4 5. Okay, so when this is going to be happening, okay, what you need to do is you can use port by case as an option available here. What it does is it gives you the option to specify different types of cases of the item type, which then you can specify different ports out in there. Okay, so when I do like 1 again and then 2 again. Okay, so here it comes. Okay, and now if you see, I'm going to have type 1 here. So let me just see what is my 1, what is my 2, and what is my 3. Okay, when we go in the ports and when we go in out, my 1 is 2, 2 is, like this. So it's different. Okay, that is where it is creating some issues. So let us make this here, let us take it here. So looking at that, we are going to have 2 3 4 1 2 3 perfectly matched. So the first item type should go there, second should go here, third should come here, then fourth and fifth. So here it should be fourth, correct, and this is our fifth. Perfect. Now what we are supposed to do is we were supposed to transfer the parts in the batches. Okay, so what does that mean? Thanks Raul for updating, and hearts in here. Okay, great. So what I wanted to do now is that I wanted to transfer these parts using this operator in the matter of two boxes together. Okay, but if you see now here it is a mix. How are you going to segregate these two parts? Like I want oranges together, I want greens together, I want reds together, right? This is how it has to be done. There is one option in this Flexsim conventional method where you can directly send the items from here by performing a batching with two batch size using the operator as your transport task executor, and I'll just show you how it works. Okay, because third is a part where we have no mixes, and that is where it is very important to know how it is going to work out there. Okay, so when you see out there, this is how it works. What it does, this person, the moment you are going to get two parts, you see it is transferring that onto the conveyor out in there. Okay, we are going to do multiple different big logics, so you're going to get a great understanding of how the things are supposed to be working for all different elements and entities. Might be conveyors, might be task executors and stuff like that. Okay, so let me close this global table for the time being now. So this conventional method here, it's going to be very difficult because you don't have any options to specify. We are not going to use this one. What we are either going to do is we are going to use a process flow here now. Okay, let me just remove the center port connection for this operator, so we have nothing moving out there. Now we are going to use a process flow to segregate two different types of items onto this conveyor and keep those moving out in there. So here comes a general process flow. Here what we're going to do is Whenever I'm going to get a part in my queue, okay, let us do that. Let us create a group, okay, of all these three queues, Q2, Q3, Q4, okay, and the group, let us name it as group 1 itself. What we're going to do is we are going to use the group on entry, okay. So whenever part is going to enter into the group, we are going to label that as item, okay. We're going to have that as assigned value, and here we are going to put that as token dot label name, okay. What does that do is we need two major things for now. See, now let us understand what logic we need to create, and then you can look how the logic has been created, okay. So what logic has to be created is I need to pick up two parts of the same type and place those onto the conveyor, okay. So that is as simple as that, okay. So but you need to know that you cannot directly place a part onto the conveyor. So what you need is you need an exit and entry transfer, for which we created this way. We created a connection, then we clicked on this port, we deleted that, and we have this entry transfer created onto the conveyor. We need this, it's very important. Now what we're going to do is we are going to create a process flow which will help us, pick up two parts of same type and place those onto the conveyor, even though we are going to have a mix of multiple parts into the same queue, okay. Let us do that. So what we have done is we have selected a queue which is going to be a source event triggered source. We have assigned the items, we have assigned a label as item to the system, and then one thing we are going to do, we are going to put token.label name, which is going to get us a name of that particular queue, because we need that. So we understood what logic we need to create now, that we need to pick up two parts at a time of the same item type and place it onto the conveyor. This is what the logic has to be made using the process flow. But what is the biggest part now? You need to think how this logic has to be created, and for that, what are the details I would be requiring. So when I talk about that, what are the things being required? So you need to know which queue it is, where the part is, onto which queue it is, which type of part it is, and how many types of parts I am having, and how many batching I have to do. We know we need to batch two parts of the same type onto three different queues. These three queues are put into the group where we have put an event triggered source or entry, okay. So now what we're going to have is whenever a part is going to enter a queue, we are going to get a token, okay. And now that token is going to come down, okay. Let us put one dummy custom code. We are not going to do anything in that. Let us have the tokens moving so that we can see what is coming out onto our plate, okay. So here comes the token. So if you see, I have total 4 parts, and all these 4 are created in the form of the token here. And if you see, the label name is the Q3. This is the orange color part, okay, if you see. And you are going to have this, what? You're going to have the label name, that is Q3. We got a reference that where this part is available. And then where we got a reference of that particular item onto that queue, okay. So we have a reference of the item, we have the reference of the queue where it is placed. Now what we are going to do, we are going to assign the labels of the part to the tokens, because then we are going to create a logic in process flow. So the values which are available onto your item should also come to your token, because you need to read that. So what I need to do is I need to batch the item, I need to batch these tokens, because each token resembles each item available here, okay. So each of your token is each of your item in your Flexsim environment, and that is where you need to get a reference of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the assign label element in the process flow, and I'm going to put a label to the token as type. And what is the value of that? That is going to be item.type. Okay, I just need to put token.item.type. What is your token.item? Token.item is your this item, that is this box which is in the Q3, and on that Q3 When you click on that box, what is the label of that is going to get printed to your token. So I'll just show you. You need to write this in the assign labels so that will help you get the labels assigned to your token. The labels are already there onto your item. From that item, you need to get you need to read or fetch and assign that values of label items to your token. I'll just run that, and if you see, I have first red part. Now the red part also gets the label as type 1. Okay, this token which is created also has a label type 1 because we are fetching the values from the item now. So I'll run this, and if you see, you're going to get multiple parts into the system, everyone having their own types. Perfect. Now let us do one thing. What? Batching. Okay, what I need to do now is I need to batch the detail. Okay, and I need to batch two parts. Okay, and create a one token. This is a very interesting part in the process flow. The process flow batches are nothing but, you're combining the tokens. The tokens are combined into a single token, and then that goes in. Okay, in conventional method, you cannot, if you need to combine the boxes, you need to use a combiner. That is what it is here in the process flow. That is known as batching. Okay, now when I talk about this as a batching, what is going to happen is I'm going to combine two tokens and make that as a one token. But how I'm going to group that? I'm going to group that by token dot type. Okay, let us see whether that works. Okay, and when I reset and run, what should ideally be happening is I should have the token waiting for its another pair to be getting off. Now I'll just explain this what it means. What it is doing is the first thing is your item type, and that requires two parts to be fulfilled to make one batch. So it's 1 by 2. So it says that you have only one part out of two parts for your item type 1. Okay, so this is how you need to batch. So now you're grouping. So what we wanted is we wanted every item type part to be grouped, right? So we want two red parts so that I can place that on the conveyor, two orange parts so that I can place that on the conveyor, wherever there is a part mix, right? And that is how we have created a batching out in here now. Let us do one thing as well. What we're going to do is we are going to have an item, because see what is going to happen is you're going to batch, right? And when you batch, you are going to destroy the existence of another item. So I'll just show you what I mean. When I get a red part, another red part, you're going to see where the thing is. Where the thing is. So there is no existence of the other part now. Okay. So let me put another thing down here. Okay. And let's see what happens now. Okay. Now if you see here, we have that type 1. Okay. That's good. I have the item reference, which is this queue. And if I just show you by the binocular, it is only having the reference of this part. What about reference of this part? You don't have the reference of that part, and hence picking that part is impossible. So what has to be done? Going to the batches, what we did is we created another thing, which is basically we are combining a label item into a new label, which is item 1, by making an array out of it. And it is as simple as just adjusting the properties windows out in here. Okay, now when this is done, okay, you're going to have a reference of the items. If you see here, I have a reference of QBox 1, I have a reference of QBox 2, means I have a reference of both of my boxes, which I can place by picking that up onto this conveyor. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reset this. Okay, I'm just going to close this. Let us delete this. Let us use the acquire and release resource stuff now, because we need to use that operator, right? Which is going to work. So here it comes in the resource. I'm directly selecting this operator 1, acquire. I am going to acquire a resource and I'm going to release the same resource, okay, which is token.resource. Now let me go into the acquire here. I'm going to acquire a person now. But once I acquire, I'm going to run a subflow. Why subflow? Because I need to pick that part 2 times and then I need to place that part 2 times out of the conveyor. Picking 2 times, placing 2 times. Okay. So unload I took, load I took. Okay. These two would be different subflows. So start, you have an end. I'm just creating that start, end, and the process, run subflow starts here. Now the quantity of this is to be 2, okay, because we batched it with 2. If you want to use that as some value in from the global table or some from the reference of your label onto the item, you can do that straight away. Put here token.item dot whatever label you have assigned to your item. Okay, now that has been done. What you're gonna do is here I've assigned 2, okay, and here I'm going to put a new thing is that is index, okay, and here let us make it as creation rank, okay. What does this label does? Now what we're going to do is we are going to assign a label named as index, and that is going to be assigned as per your creation index rank, okay. So my first part index would be 1, second part it would be 2, third part it would be 3, fourth it would be 4, okay. This is what it means. So here I am putting another label onto the token named as index, which will be auto incrementing based on the creation index, okay, creation rank. Coming now here to the load, what I'm going to load, the resource is token.resource flat. What item it is going to be? It is going to be item 1, okay, it is going to be item 1, then token dot index, right, it is going to be this way. So you need to write the syntax in this form, okay, and from wherever it was been picked up. Let us see whether that perfectly works. If not, we're going to identify and debug that, okay. So let me run that now. Here it comes. Perfect. If you see, I've picked it up. So I have 2 parts now with me been picked up, okay. And what's that going to do is that is nothing but picking up 2 parts of the same type, right? So my code works. So what we did is we created a label, right, onto the token which is referenced at item 1, which has an array of 2 parts 1 and 2. For when the first part created, so when the first run subflow went, the rank was 1, so it picked up this box, and second time when this subflow ran, it was 2, it picked up the second box also, because we need a reference of every part, and that is where you need to create it out by using these types of run subflow. Now the next thing, we picked it up, but what about dropping it off, right? So I'm going to travel now. Where I'm going to travel? I'm going to ask my operator to travel to the object. Oh, sorry. Okay, so this has to be token.resource, right? Token.resource, and the destination is going to be this entry transfer, right? What happened is delete token.resource and entry transfer, right? Now let us see how it goes. Okay, the object should have been traveled out there. Okay, let's see whether that person is traveling to the entry transfer. Yes, it traveled to the entry transfer, right? Now we are going to use another subflow again, because you need to unload the parts now, right? And again I need to use a start for the subflow, I need to use an end for the subflow, okay. And here I created another run subflow detail, and I'm going to assign the start here, and the 2 again creation index the same, Now for unload, will this work? Let me know in the comment section. If not, why? Okay, and I am just running this. Okay, whether it is unloading, let us see. Okay, so here it goes. It's not working. Why it's not working, guys? Let me know in the comment section. Because you have the reference of the items now, right? But ideally it should have been done. Why it is not putting that out raw, right? Why is that thing not getting dropped out? That is, let me know in the comment section below. We are going to use another thing out in here is that we are going to make this as token dot resource, okay, dot subnodes dot one. Okay, fantastic. So the multiple times it is going to run a subflow. It is going to unload a part which is loaded onto a resource in the form of subnode. Okay, now if you see here, we are having some errors. The same thing is also not working. Why is that not working? Great, Ashutosh. What? Token.resource is the problem? Yes. Is that a problem? We don't have, we haven't considered, or we haven't entered what task executor we're going to pick it up. Okay. Now let me make that as resource, token.resource, and the destination is not a destination, it is a entry transfer, right? Now let me reset and run this and let me see whether that works. Okay. So now what we're gonna do is let us see whether that works. Okay. So I'm running that. It is now going to get two parts, batched, loaded and unloaded. It worked perfectly, perfectly fine, right? Now let us try the same code again, this one, putting back in there, and let's see whether that works. So remember, this is another alternative, a great alternative which you can use, which has to be used whenever you unload something from the task executors. Okay. Now I'm running that and let's see whether that works now. Okay. And that works fantastically, guys. So it's not about, because the same syntaxes are there, same label is there, so it has to work anyhow. So that is the beauty of scripting, you know, that if it has to be, it has to be. If it is not, it is not. It's very straightforward. So you can use the same syntax which we used above and it will help you get your box down loaded as well as unloaded. Now let us see how the things go, right? We created this very greatly. Now let us look for the different types of parts getting in and how is that working out. So I have another thing, you see this, item type 5 also, item type 4 also, item type, more like another item also. Now the yellow one is done. This has to be acquired and released. It's not done because our answer flow is not connected to the release and then not to the sync. Now let me just put that, and hopefully that is supposed to be working now. Okay, so the red color parts are going now, right? Yeah. So I'll just make that faster. So we have the yellow color parts. Yeah, we got a yellow also. Now the blue is going to be on a wedge, right? Because we're going to get that. And then it is how it. So this is how, you can create a sorting logic in your process when you want to create that in order to get the details done. So, right, we applied the cycle times to the stations, referencing to the global table. We learned different types of ways how we can set up a label to the item, color different types of item, what are the different possibilities by which you can color the item based on your type of the item, right? Now when you are going to be out in there, this is the first logic we created. So if you see now, I'm getting the batches of two parts. of the same type being loaded to the conveyor. See, the green is here. So this is the process flow which you need to create in order to have your systems functioning. Now, we are going to create another great logic out in there, and that is about automatically getting your conveyor start and stop, and it's going to be fantastic. Just stay out in here, okay? Now what I'm going to do is, let us have one of the operator which is going to be standing out in here, which is basically going to unload the parts from this onto a queue out in there, okay? And I'm just having a set up a connection, and let us do this conventionally, no use of process flow, right? Because there is no complexity in this. It has to just pick a part and place it onto the queue. And let us mix those parts now, because it is first in first out, so we are always going to have a batch of two same types of colors apart. What I'm going to do is, let us have a station onto a conveyor, okay? And what is that going to do is, we're going to have a cycle time out in there as 10 minutes, probably, yeah, 10 minutes. Now what we're going to do is, we are going to control the details, where I'm going to put a photo eye. Here comes a photo eye. If this photo eye is blocked, so that's where now we will be going again in a trigger, creating a logic, and that is what we are going to learn now and check out. So let us understand first what the logic has to be created, and then let's see how it has been created. And for creating that, before that, we will understand what inputs we will be requiring. So the logic has to be like, the part will come here, get processed. If it is getting, if it is creating, if the photo eye is getting blocked because of whatever reasons, the conveyor should stop taking inputs. Okay, it should stop taking inputs. And let us have one more photo eye, and I'll tell you later why we are going to use that onto this conveyor here. Okay, so let's have a simple stuff for now. Now, what is going to happen is, the part is going to come onto this, and it is going to basically block your details out in there. Okay, so let me reset this. Now whenever my this thing is going to get blocked, I'll create an on block trigger. Okay, I'm going to stop a motor. Okay, and let us create a motor also, bring in a motor also into the system, and this motor will connect it here. Okay, and what it is going to do is, it is going to stop a motor. Which motor it is going to stop? Which motor it is going to stop? How the references are going to be taken? Let us see. And when this is going to stop, okay, unstop, what you are going to do? You need to go in control, visuals, and data, or controls. Now how you are going to do this? Whether this directly stops your conveyor, let us see that. So I run this. Okay, on block there is a problem because the motor reference is not perfect. Let me put this like this. Whether the error still arrives, let us look at that. Now here comes your model running. You get a part out in there on block. Yes, still you're going to get an error out in there. So put in a comment section, what is the reason you are not going to get that detail out? Before that, what I'm going to do is, here if you see on block, what we're going to do is, we are going to tell that conveyor motor been stopped. But what is the difference? You see, the conveyor motor still sees like conveyor motor. It's not the model.find which we just selected. Yes, this is done. Let me go back here. Let me open this again here. Let me again open this here. It's conveyor.motor. Why is this not getting changed? Or is this not getting changed? Okay. So now the things are getting quite great, right? because the things are not changing, even though we change those. Now let us do one thing. I'll go here, again take a reference of the motor and find that out and run that. It's true that it's not getting changed. Okay, if you see, it's conveyed at motor only. This is how the Flexims are going to have bugs onto the system. Let me just save this. Okay, I'm just saving this as live model. Okay, in the downloads. Now let me see how this is happening. Right, quite buggy, right? How many feel there's different issues of bugness in the Flexim? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay, ideally it should change, it's not changing. Different grade bugs you can see. See, this is not going itself. Wow. So this is how it says. I guess it's saying that the live is a long running. So let us continue in the next session. That is what might be saying, because it's not working. I don't know why. When I just click on this, ideally it should take it up. Model.find. It's not doing. It's messing up everything. Okay. So in the next session, what I want is, I want this to stop the conveyor and then resume the conveyor when the part is unblocking our photo eye. And then we will be also understanding different further logics into the system and see whether those are getting, what I can say, how those can be created using Flexsim simulation. And I hope this live session was interesting, but I'm very much disappointed that we had hardly little to no people available. Like it's almost like how many? 15 people. So probably the next live will now come whenever we are going to have 100 likes out in there. Okay, so I'm going to schedule a live session, and if it is going to have 100 likes, we're going to have a live session out there, because we put in a lot of efforts. But if there are no likes, if there are no supports, if there is no comment, it is really, really not motivating for us to take these much efforts and bring the educational content to all you guys purely just for free. So I really want you guys liking the session, commenting the section, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and sharing that with your friends. Because if this way, guys, it is going to go, it is really not going to be good for really us to sustain, in where there are like, if you look at, we were the first initiator to start this initiative, where we were helping people get trained on the digital technologies like Flexsim simulation, plant simulation, and now there are many other players onto also the same plate. Okay, but the dark reality is the audience is really not supportive. Okay, so please guys, we are trying our best to bring the station. See, now it was how many, like it was just a 5 like, it now changed to 4 like, now again it is changed to 5 like. What's going on? I don't know. So I really want you guys to please support the initiative, like our videos, share it with your friends, teachers, colleagues, bosses, and also please do subscribe to our channel. We really want to share a lot of exciting educational stuffs related to digital manufacturing, industrial engineering, artificial intelligence, machine learning. I myself am working on to getting trained into those details. But That is all your love, guys. You all are going to make Leansimcorp, you know world's best and world's largest. So please, guys, do like, share, and subscribe. I cannot say anything. So for the next live video, I really want your support for at least 100 likes and minimum 50 people's watching our live session. This is really not at all what I can say. Please do support, that's all. And thank you very much, Ashutosh, for your, what I can say, uh, comment. Thank you very much, Rahul, for your comments into the comment section. So today's top fans are Rahul, and the second number we have is Ashutosh. Thank you very much for your like, share, and subscribes. So that's all for today's live session. Live is to be ended. And thank you very much for your love. Thanks all. So let us meet in another live video. So next live so next live has to be 100 likes target. Okay, just like my favorite YouTuber Kariminati. I don't know how 100 likes are going to get. Press that button, break that, you know make that on fire. I don't know. That should be getting pressed, and we need minimum 50 peoples for next live. Okay, तो guys, लाइक दबना चाहिए, सब्सक्राइब का बटन फूटना चाहिए. मुझे नहीं पता कैसे होगा, बस हो जाना चाहिए. ठीक है. So that's all for guys. Thanks for giving your precious time of Saturday for learning. Let us meet in another grand interesting video on Leansimcorp channel. Don't forget to visit our website and our next live session. So that's what you're going to make it viral. Thank you. Thank you guys. Bye bye. Have a good night and good morning if anyone from US and West.